Welcome back again to this Friday edition of our devotions. This is from Psalm 40. So within this Psalm 40, we find a description of the process or of a person in the process of coming to know God for the first time. And this is how it goes. It says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and he heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit. Out of the mud and the mire, he set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. Maybe you're one of those who used to sing hymns. There's a famous hymn that was written according to the words of this song. He brought me out of the miry clay. He set my feet on the rock to stay. He puts a song in my soul today, a song of praise. Hallelujah. I'm not going to sing it for you this morning, but you can look it up on YouTube if you want. Maybe the Lord has done something for you today. This would be a good time to remember. Do you remember the moment when God set your heart free? About the moment when God delivered you from something that had you bound? Maybe for the first time you realized that if God had a plan, first time you realized that God had a plan in place to save you, and that He answered your cry for help. Maybe it was a moment that you realized that life really does have a purpose and a meaning, and all of a sudden you felt as though you could fly, just this sense of freedom and purpose in life. Let's continue with verse 5. Many, Lord my God, are the wonders you have done, the things you planned for us. None can compare with you. Were I to speak and tell of your deeds, they would be too many to declare. Too many to declare. Well, why not try? On a regular basis, try to name them, count your blessings. Because when you think that life is getting worse, you have to remember from whence God brought you, from where God brought you, and why He brought you. And this is what it says about why God brought you to this place today. It says, sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but my ears you have opened. Burnt offerings and sin offerings you did not require. Maybe for the first time you begin to hear the voice of God. For the first time in your life you begin to hear the direction of God. Remember the story of the conversion of Saul of Tarsus that became later the Apostle Paul? And the Lord told Ananias, go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying, it says. Now, was this the first time that Saul of Tarsus was praying? No, of course not. He was a really religious man. I mean, he prayed. He prayed every day, probably several times. He offered the sacrifices. He did the offerings. But this is not what God was looking for. God is in the business of opening ears so that we can hear what He is saying to us. Maybe for the first time in your life, because of the world situation that we're in, and that you're beginning now to hear His voice again. Maybe all of the distractions have been forced aside, and now you're forced to, or at least you're given the opportunity to take time to listen, and you have begun to hear the voice of God in your life. Verse 7. Then I said, here am I have come. It is written about me in the scroll. I desire to do your will, my God. Your law is within my heart. As long as we can hear and obey the voice of God, the world and our story in it is getting better, not worse. I would encourage you to think about these things, and the fact that the world is not getting worse, that if we can still hear the voice of God, that we can know that the world is getting better. May the Lord encourage you through this psalm today. Thank you.